This week on The Communicators, a visit to a technology show on Capitol Hill, hosted by the Consumer Electronics Association. Their big show is in Las Vegas during the winter, but every spring the CEA invites vendors and technology companies to come to Capitol Hill to display its latest technology to policymakers. We spoke with some of those attending the show.
And now here on The Communicators on Capitol Hill, we're joined by Gary Shapiro, President and CEO of the Consumer Electronics Association, which is putting on this show on Capitol Hill. Mr. Shapiro, what's the importance of getting these companies displayed for policymakers?
Well, there's 535 members of Congress, and they affect the future of innovation. We can't get them all to Las Vegas for the International CES. We'd love to. This is about 1/1000th the size of the International CES, but the important message we're trying to get out is there's great things happening. We're not asking for anything. We're just looking, let us innovate, let us do our thing. Those areas of technology where entrepreneurs are allowed to go forward, whether it's cell phones or cash machines, are ones which have worked great in countries around the world. That's all the opportunity we want. Let innovation flourish.
And do policymakers or lawmakers come down to this? Do they enjoy seeing this?
They're very busy, and they do like coming down. You know, it's tough to get them off Capitol Hill or to Las Vegas. We think it's very important that policymakers see what the real world is like so they can make informed decisions when they're actually making votes and doing other things which are affecting basically how you can build products, what you can do, who you trade with, things like that. You know, great American companies like Apple and Google and others we have them here in the United States, and we have great international companies here, but it's working. And the U.S. is a world leader. We want to keep it that way, but it's important we have the right policies.
When we walked into the displays here, we saw your table, the CEA table, and you had your legislative agenda essentially on that table, including PIPA, SOPA, privacy, etc. What's this legislative session been like for you and the Consumer Electronics Association?
Honestly, we've had a phenomenal 6 months. We got the free trade agreements passed, which is very important. We killed PIPA and SOPA, which would have hurt the internet. We got the Jobs Act passed, which allows entrepreneurs to raise money using the internet and without having a lot of regulatory bureaucracy. Plus, we're moving on some other issues like strategic immigration, which is very important. We want to get the best and the brightest, and we're hoping to do something about the deficit. We also got additional spectrum for wireless broadband. So these products will work in the future, and you can have your wireless devices and take your products anywhere in the country and it'll work. So generally, we think Congress and the administration have done a pretty good job for the technology industry, and that's all positive. We still have a long ways to go. We still got to chip away at some of these rules which discourage starting businesses and some of the competitive disadvantages, but we're doing okay. We're pretty happy.
Now, we talked with one company here, Qualcomm, and they talked about how they've developed new efficiency in spectrum use. Is the onus also on the technology companies to be more efficient with their spectrum product?
You know, any technology company, including Verizon and AT&T, which is paid for spectrum, has every financial incentive to really use it well. And definitely it's not only an onus, it's the marketplace demands it. If you don't use that spectrum well that you've paid literally billions of dollars for, you're in trouble. And every day things are developing. But there are physics, there are limits to some things you can do. But it's not only about spectrum usage. We have products shown here. There's a lot of software. Google's here, Intel's here. Chips are getting better. We even have a product being shown here which you can make anything in your home, a prototype, for just a few $1,000s. It's called 3D printing, and it's really going to be the wave of the future.
Now, finally, Gary Shapiro, recent article in the Politico newspaper quoted you as saying nice things about Mitt Romney. Now, it's 2012, it's an election year. Do you see a tech agenda by the Obama campaign or the Romney campaign at this point?
I think their tech agenda between the two campaigns is actually very, very similar. They're both very pro-technology. They're both using technology. They're in their own way. They like technology. It's a clean industry. It's a growth industry. Things are good there. I think I personally support Romney because I think that he's better for business, he's better for job creation. He doesn't rely on a big federal bureaucracy, and he'll rip away at it rather than keep increasing them. So to me, what's the most important in creating jobs in the country really is a sense of business owners that they should be investing in the United States. Right now under President Obama, frankly, they're investing abroad. It's not only because we have a slow growth economy, it's because you don't know what union rules you're going to be hit with. The tax rate is the highest in the world now in the U.S. You can't repatriate your money. You can't get the best and the brightest people. So our members are being encouraged to invest abroad. And that is not a healthy for the economy. And if the economy doesn't do well, the tech industry doesn't do well. So my calculus on this is the most important thing to our success is the absolute health of the U.S. economy. And that's why I come down in favor of Romney.
Gary Shapiro is President and CEO, Consumer Electronics Association. Website?
CE.org.
And on the communicators, we're talking with Joe Kennedy, who is CEO of Pandora. Mr. Kennedy, for people who don't know, what is Pandora?
Pandora is personalized internet radio. So Pandora enables you to create your own radio stations based on your favorite artists or songs or genres. And by giving thumbs up and thumbs down over time, refining them to meet your taste.
When was it developed and what's the business model?
Pandora's been in business for over 12 years. We actually launched the service about 6.5 years ago. So there's a tremendous amount of intellectual property that's been developing over that entire time period. The Music Genome Project is the foundation intellectual property. And we finally put that all together into Pandora personalized internet radio 6.5 years ago. The business model is like radio. It's primarily ad-supported, free to the consumer. We do have a subscription option. The great thing about delivery over the internet is you can give the consumer that choice to enjoy Pandora with advertising or pay $36 a year and enjoy Pandora without any advertising.
Are you profitable yet?
We're not profitable. We were roughly break even last year. Our revenues have been growing significantly. But we do face very significant royalty costs, which is really one of the main policy issues that we're here in D.C. to talk about.
And what have you been telling members of Congress?
Well, the big theme here is that radio is converging. So consumers now in the home, in the car, on the go, can listen to AM/FM radio, they can listen to satellite radio, they can listen to radio over a cable set-top box, they can listen to radio over the internet. And increasingly they're enjoying all of those choices. But the way legislation treats those different types of radio is wildly different, based on the different time periods when those technologies were invented. And as a consequence, internet radio pays far higher royalties than any other form of royalty. Broadcast AM and FM radio actually pays no royalties to performing artists and their labels. Satellite and cable pay 8 to 15% of revenue. We've been paying 50% of our revenue in royalties. And so the theme here really is, as radio converges, we need a level playing field that's technology agnostic and recognizes that radio is radio.
Is there pending legislation? Has anyone introduced anything?
There was legislation in the last session of Congress, the so-called Performance Rights Act. It passed both judiciary committees but did not come to a floor vote in either chamber. I think there continues to be interest in the topic, and I think a realization that a level playing field is the right thing here, that rationalization is appropriate, getting a technology-neutral approach to radio. And so I think the time will come.
One of the other issues, Mr. Kennedy, that Capitol Hill is dealing with in the tech world is privacy. And what about the information that you collect from people who use Pandora? What do you do with that information?
We take a very, very conservative posture in terms of privacy. We only have your email address, age, gender, and zip code. Nothing beyond that in terms of your information. And we don't sell it or share it with other entities. We do use the information about your age and your zip code and your gender to target advertising to make it more relevant to you. But we don't, we don't use geolocation, for example. Even though we are used extensively on smartphones, we don't enable the GPS tracking capability. We'll use the zip code that the user provided with us at the time of registration to provide broad geo-targeting. We know you're in the Washington, D.C. area, but we're not tracking you in terms of where you are this minute versus the next minute. So I think there's a lot that has to be sorted out from a privacy standpoint, and we're going to take a very conservative position on that until all of those policy things are sorted out.
Where are you based?
We're based in San Francisco, actually in Oakland. We're an interesting story. We developed in an enterprise zone in Oakland, and now have over 500 employees in a part of Oakland that, quite honestly, doesn't have a whole lot of things in terms of businesses that size and scale. And so we're very excited to be part of a city that I think really appreciates the employment growth that we've brought to it and has been very supportive of our continued development.
Venture capital?
We were venture funded, went through many rounds of venture funding. We went public just about a year ago, so last year in June we went public. We're actually traded as symbol P on the New York Stock Exchange. And so, our overall progress is really quite good from a business standpoint. We actually have 125 million registered users in this country, over 50 million of which are active every month. So we've really become a significant part of the radio landscape. In fact, we now represent just under 6% of all radio listening in this country on Pandora. Pandora's in most cities, Pandora is bigger than the largest AM or FM radio station in that market.
What's your background?
My background, I really, I spent the first part of my career at Saturn, the car company, trying to kind of turn that model upside down and do great things for consumers. And then I came out to the internet world about 12 years ago and have used the internet as a mechanism to try and do innovative things that kind of create new possibilities for consumers.
Well, as you mentioned, Mr. Kennedy, that a common use of Pandora is smartphones, but you've got some other products displayed here. How else can one get Pandora?
Well, I think the products we have here are really meant to show the full range of ability to use Pandora. This, for example, is an Alpine aftermarket radio. You can see it's connected to an iPhone. It's even got thumbs up and thumbs down that Alpine has built into it. And so the consumer, when using this in their car, it is no different from using AM or FM radio. At another extreme, we have here a mock-up of a Samsung refrigerator. There really is a Samsung refrigerator that integrates Pandora, and it's actually the percentage of people who buy this refrigerator who connect to Pandora, kind of integrate it with an account, is unusually high. So people really are enjoying Pandora, in their kitchen, courtesy of the Samsung refrigerator. And here we have some of the basic capabilities. We're huge on smartphones, huge on the iPad. This is a Barnes & Noble Nook. This is the Amazon Kindle Fire. Again, all of these connected devices that are entering our lives, Pandora is integrated into. In fact, of all of the companies displaying here at CES on the Hill, I think half of the companies market products that integrate Pandora into them. Samsung TVs, DirecTV as a satellite service provider, Samsung, Intel, AudioVox, pretty much all of connected electronics today integrates Pandora to enable this anytime, anywhere access that consumers want, because that's how radio is consumed.
Joe Kennedy, CEO of Pandora Internet Radio, has been talking with the communicator.
Thank you, Peter.
And Panasonic is one of the companies that has a display here at the Consumer Electronics Show on Capitol Hill, and Peter Fannin is a vice president of Panasonic. First of all, Mr. Fannin, what do you do for Panasonic?
I work on technology policy issues. So this is the development of new technologies, figuring out what our global company can do here in the U.S. and how our R&D activities here in the U.S. can help the global company.
Where is Panasonic based in the U.S.?
In the U.S., it's based in Secaucus, New Jersey, just across the river from New York. But we have about 5,500 people spread around the U.S., maybe 10,500 in North America, and they're all involved in a combination of manufacturing. For example, for avionics, that's the entertainment and communication systems on board airplanes, to batteries and battery pack manufacturing down in Georgia, avionics in California. marketing and sales activities, R&D in California, in Boston, in Michigan for electric vehicles, some of which we're showing here, for example, in Texas and a few other places. So, big group.
Mr. Fannin, what is it that you wanted lawmakers, policymakers, and their staffs to see here on Capitol Hill? What's your display?
Well, most folks, of course, know Panasonic for the consumer electronics, for the televisions at home, Blu-ray players, things like that. But in fact, under the hood, behind the scenes, Panasonic actually has a very wide array of products, including a range of energy-oriented products. And that's what we're showing today, because all of us know that we have to be able to generate new forms of energy using new systems, such as solar panels. And once you generate it, of course, we've got to be able to store it intelligently and then manage it. So along with the traditional forms of power generation in the grid, more and more people are actually creating their own energy at home, typically using wind power or, more importantly, solar. So in Panasonic's case, for example, here in Salem, Oregon, we make these giant, heavy silicon ingots. It's a very highly refined form of silicon with some other chemistry that then gets sliced into thin layers and turned into the modules that make up solar panels. Panasonic is proud to be the company with the single most efficient energy capture and pass-through in its solar panels, a little over 20%. And of course, over time, we hope to grow that so that more of the sun's energy is actually collected, sent down the system into your home into storage. The other thing we're talking about, although we don't actually provide it in the US yet, we do this in Japan and a few other places, are home energy storage batteries, so that the energy you create can be stored and used later. Sun during the day, storage battery, energy at night. And those batteries are essentially these. This kind of cell is a lithium-ion cell. This same cell, 6,800 of these packaged together in modules, power a Tesla Roadster 250 miles on one charge. But these, packaged differently, make up modules like this that go into storage systems, small ones for the home, medium size for small businesses, and very large units. For example, University of California at San Diego, Panasonic has installed a very large storage array that takes solar power off of the roofs on one corner of the campus, stores it, distributes it to the rest of the campus as part of University of California's energy demonstration projects. We're all learning from those and, of course, hope to make these efficient and effective.
Mr. Fannin, is your solar business profitable?
Our solar business, like so many others, is relatively new in this country, but growing quite rapidly because we have the world's most efficient and because we have a global supply chain. We're pretty well situated to be a good competitor. But our focus is not typically the home so much as it is the business environment, business-to-business sales. So Panasonic solar panels were just installed at Mariner Stadium out in Seattle. They power almost 50% of the needs of Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California. You'll see them everywhere in the business market. Some more announcements coming soon on that front. Stadiums, public buildings, special venues.
And again, for lawmakers, policymakers, what's the importance of them seeing solar when it comes to policy?
The importance for us is to understand that a nascent industry needs care and attention, shouldn't be undercut or wrongly disadvantaged relative to other opportunities in the market. So we're very active in discussing how new energy proposals, new energy legislation moves through Congress, and what we can do as an industry to help government understand how this can play an important part in the growing energy needs and as a way to save fossil fuels for the time when we'll really need them, because ultimately, of course, those are sources that will run out.
Peter Fannin, there's a rather eye-catching poster that you have over here with some annual energy costs. Can you explain what this is?
I'd be delighted. You know, if you still have a CRT television, the tube TV types of years past, a 27 to 36-inch TV tube typically took over 300 watts, for which you got conventional standard definition television and maybe some okay audio. In today's large screen flat panel TVs, you can get a 50-inch plasma or LCD TV that uses 1/3 of that power, gives you HD TV, 6 times the picture quality, multiple channels of sound, imagers out of SD cards right in the television, connections to cable directly, a variety of new features, web connections that bring the web into any TV, regardless of your provider, and all of that runs on less than 1/3 the power that your old TV used. An interesting part of that is this product. As people get rid of their old CRT TVs, of course you want to responsibly recycle them, because the electronics often have things that really shouldn't go in the landfill, and most places don't permit it anymore, which is the right thing. And so what do you do with the glass that's in the tubes, among other things? In Panasonic's case, we take the faceplate glass, which is pure and clean glass, and spin it into glass wool. Put it in a wafer of foil, vacuum out the air, and this nearly 1/4 inch thick insulation, which we call Vacua, is 14 times more effective than the typical fiberglass in your home. So we're already using this kind of product made out of old TV screens in small appliances, hot water kettles, microwave ovens, and the like, to simply contain the heat. But over time, of course, we hope this kind of thing can become a useful output for recycled materials from things like old and now no longer usable televisions.
And we have been talking with Peter Fannin, Vice President of Panasonic, about some of their environmental and solar products. Mr. Fannin, thank you for your time here on the Communicators.
Thank you very much. Great to see you, Peter.
And now joining us on the Communicators is Enrique Mouchant. DesktopFab is the name of his company. Mr. Mouchant, what is DesktopFab?
We distribute and design 3D printer technologies. So we have a 3D printer right here, and then all of the items that have been made on this table have been printed by this machine.
Now, printed, these are full-scale items.
Yeah. So you can think of it kind of like a computer-controlled hot glue gun. You take plastic, you run it through a heater, and then you extrude it through that heater, and layer by layer build up a full 3D item. So.
And this is the printer right here?
Yes.
Okay, is this something that you made or invented?
No, we distribute this machine.
You distribute this machine. Okay, who invented this?
A company called Bits from Bytes out of England.
And what is your role with this?
President. 25.
What's your background?
Electrical engineering. Started my first business when I was 17, doing LED flashlights, and through that, through manufacturing all those items, would often prototype stuff and use 3D printers to do that. So back at that time, the machines were too expensive, too cost prohibitive to own one, and always went through service bureaus. When they started coming down in price, this seemed like more interesting work to be in.
So where is this machine built?
England.
In England?
Yeah.
And DesktopFab is headquartered in?
Texas, just north of Austin.
Now, how is it that this mechanical hand was printed, as you say, on this printer? How did that happen?
So all of these individual parts were printed on the machine, then assembled by hand. So you still have metal bolts, and you've got the electronics and motors inside, but all of the plastic was made here.
On this machine?
Yes.
And are these commercially available at this point?
They are. They cost, this particular model, $3,930.
How many have you sold?
Several hundred, including with the manufacturers. So,
Who would need a 3D printer?
mostly hobbyists, engineers, small businesses. So anytime you need to do iterative design of some kind. So if you look at something even like this hand, if you wanted to CNC machine something, would cost CNC machine would have been about $10,000. In parts and materials from the machine, it's less than 100. So you can go and very easily prototype stuff, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You just print out another one, and it's still cheap.
So your role at Desktop, are you inventors? Are you distributors?
Primarily distributors. So,
Do you consider yourself an inventor?
yeah, we do some R&D work.
What kind of patents do you have?
None right now. So, yeah.
Okay.
Patents are only as good as your defense attorneys and your budget. So,
Why are you up here on Capitol Hill?
mostly to discuss the issues surrounding 3D printing. Like right now, it's not there aren't enough of these in houses for it to be a big deal. But as the cost goes down and the technology proliferates more, all of these things are digital models, just like songs were. So if I hand you a CD and you give it to 10 of your friends, you didn't own any of that music. Likewise here, if you take a digital file and give it to tens or hundreds or thousands of people, it doesn't matter unless they have something they can make that file with, and with this they do. So that ends up being the principal issue. How do you go and come up with an adequate solution for content protection and content management that takes into account people's ability to create, that you don't hinder the technology, but still takes into account content owners' considerations as well.
Enrique Mouchon, how long did it take to print, as you say, the plastic bunny?
21 hours.
Okay, is this making something now? Is it printing something now?
If you crouch a little bit, you can see here, it's printing a 3-chambered whistle.
And we have been talking with the president of DesktopFab, Enrique Mouchon, about 3D printing. Congressman Darrell Issa is here at the Consumer Electronics Show on the Hill. Congressman, what are you doing down here in the Rayburn cafeteria?
Well, I'm seeing some products that were not yet available at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. You and I were there. It's an exciting, large show. This gives members of Congress, most of whom will never go to that show, to get an idea of what consumer electronics is doing, where it's going. A robot over here that's going to be used in the hospital, give people video access to their doctor remotely and in real time in a hospital where otherwise the doctor may not get there, or at a home. Obviously Dish Network, Pandora, the 3D screens that are going to be used at the Republican and Democratic conventions, hundreds of them at each convention, are here today. So all of those kinds of items I think are exciting to members of Congress who are not necessarily tech savvy.
What are the policy implications of some of this technology?
Well, one of the big policy implications is available spectrum, whether it's for the Wi-Fi you use in your home or the cellular network that you rely on as you drive down the road. And even beyond that, a lot of other white space, a lot of capability where there could be new and exciting products if we can allocate bandwidth. Today, particularly, Qualcomm is showing a new proposed standard that would allow video to be transferred over the internet or over your cell phone with same resolution, half the size of data, meaning twice as much for the price.
And less spectrum, or the same amount of spectrum.
Exactly.
Yes.
You'd be able to do a given definition with half the spectrum. Big advance. Now we're looking at growth that over 2 or 3 years could double the amount of video. This new standard could allow us to double the video with existing spectrum. So there's a lot of exciting things for people to see that members of Congress need to understand.
Do you think spectrum auctions will happen very shortly?
I do think spectrum auctions are going to happen shortly. I'm an advocate for spectrum expansion. Sometimes I think we get involved in the term auction and we get focused on the money we receive rather than the real benefit to the consumer, remembering that spectrum belongs to the American people and it needs to go to the highest and best use. Sometimes they're not the best profit.
And finally, a lot of the issues, tech issues, are now about elections and FCC, whether or not to post the cost of commercials, et cetera. As chairman of the Government Affairs Committee, do you see any hearings going forward that might involve election issues?
We do see some that are going to involve it. The Hatch Act, this is where public officials speak and become politicized while using their offices. And that's certainly a problem every election year where people would like to leverage their existing office for the next office. We also do think that transparency, greater transparency in all government spending and spending on campaigns is essential. Just this week, the Data Act will be on the House floor, and it's going to make the recipients of all federal money completely transparent to all of us.
Congressman Darrell Issa, chair of the Government Affairs Committee here at the Consumer Electronics Show on Capitol Hill.
Thank you. Thanks for covering it.